Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 17th of January 2020. Today we're going to talk about supply and demand theory. Okay, so I just want to point something out on this time frame here because this is pretty important. Notice here that we're on the monthly time frame, and notice that we have this area here and we have this area here. Notice that, I mean, these are 2 months, sometimes 3 months apart, but notice how price almost always returns back to the origin. Okay, and this is why it's important for us to focus on the origin of these really big moves on the big time frames, because price at some stage needs to gravitate towards these historical areas of supply and demand, because this is where we're going to attract or onboard the biggest number of buyers and sellers. Okay, so messing around in the middle, while that might play out shorter term on the smaller time frames, if you want to follow the big moves, then you need to be looking at the bigger time frames. Okay, so notice here we have this one here, and price came down here, so price was out of balance, it rebalanced, this price imbalance rebalanced. We had this enormous push higher, which rebalanced this price imbalance here. We even went a little bit further, and then price came back down here, and then people are thinking, oh, price is never going to come back down here, but it does, and it did it here, and it went deeper, and it returned back to the origin of these pushes higher here. Okay, so if you're positioning yourself in line with supply and demand on the monthly chart, even though you're trading the smaller time frames, well, this can really enable you to hold your positions for much longer. Okay, so let's look here. We have a bleeding edge price, which is just here. Where do we have supply and where do we have demand? Well, we have this area here, which is supply, and this is supply because when price left here, we managed to form a new low, and this is pretty important to us. We have our area of demand here, and this is an area of demand, and maybe some of you are asking why I didn't draw it like that. And the reason I didn't draw it like that is because the beginning of the buy zone is the low of the deepest pullback of the candle that closed above the high of this accumulation, which is just here. So I'm going to leave it right like there. Okay, so price tested there. This is the beginning of the buy zone. We tested it, we came close, and this is where we managed to feed into that area. So this is where price will probably turn around and start to wriggle higher. Okay, because we've returned to the origin of this move. Note that we do have this down here, and so for this one down here, where is the origin going to be? It's going to be the candle that closed above this one here, which is going to be here. So it's going to look something like that. So we can expect price at some point in the future to return back to the 6109 area. And why is it going to do that? It's going to do that because it has to. It has to in order to drive price higher. The lower this goes, the more people we are going to see engaging in the market to the upside. Okay, good. Well, you can see we've returned to the origin of this area of demand. We've come down, we've poked into it, and now we are starting to see price structure of the market, so price structure break down here. And we have this area of supply just here, and this is supply because when price left here, we managed to form a new low, which poked into here. Would this mean that we're going to sell this? It doesn't. And the reason I wouldn't be keen on selling here is because, number one, market structure has failed, which qualifies this area here as an area of demand. And also, we are reacting a monthly demand. So we have two reasons not to begin to sell. Okay, again, number one, market structure has failed, so that's confirming something down here is demand, and we're also reacting at monthly demand. Okay, so we have probably for a period into the let's say the coming weeks, we have an upward bias for the time being. Okay, sorry about that. I've got a house full of kids again, getting close to the end of the holiday. Okay, so we have this just up here. Okay, so we have a long bias for the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. If we have a look here on the weekly chart, and you look for kind of the same thing, you can see that we have market structure, which is moving higher. So we have upward sloping trend line. So we have demand that is driving price. We have this area here, just here, and this candle closed above the highs of the accumulation. And so we mark the lowest low of this candle. So the slingshot was pulled back to this area here, something in here. This is where price came to before it moved higher. Okay, so this is the one that is currently reacting. This here, some people might look at this and think, oh, this is some supply. This isn't supply, and this is not supply because it did not manage to accomplish anything. Okay, we managed to compromise this trend line, but we did not manage to consume this area of demand here. Okay, and so this is nothing to us. It's just a bearish engulfing, but that's it. Okay, so price is poking down into this area of demand, beginning of the buy zone, the low of this candle. Now price is wriggling higher, so we can expect price to continue moving higher from here. Okay, so that's what we have there. If we look up here, this is the area of monthly supply that we noted. And so if you look at this, I mean, price managed to move up, move sideways, and then we move down, accumulation, then we gap lower, we close the gap, and then we continue to move lower. If we look at this, we have this one here. And this is interesting because when price managed to move away from here, we managed to move through this. And this is demand because when price left here, we managed to close above this high here. Okay, so we have a couple of interesting areas here. Price poked into this area, I think almost, not quite. So we have this area just up here. And then this is an interesting area to us because when price went up, we accumulated for one period and then we moved away. And so the high of this candle, this is a candle that closed below the low of this accumulation candle. This is the beginning of the sell zone. So you can actually move it to the high, which is about right there, and be done with it. Okay, so that's what we have there, about the 80.11. Okay, so we can expect price to wriggle up there, but also notice that we do have this here, and this is interesting here because the high of this candle is at the 78.01, so the 7800 area, and when price left here, we managed to move below these lows here. Okay, and so I mean here you want to be aligning yourself to buy because we have market structure is moving higher, we have demand and control, and we are taking out all of these small areas of supply that we have had historically. We had this one here, which is now gone, and this one was taken out by this candle here. The origin of this push is down here. Okay, so this is the one that we noticed just here, and so we can expect price to continue to wriggle higher. Okay, so we go into the smaller time frame. And notice here that here we have our weekly demand, and here we have something, and this is interesting because when price left here, we managed to move below this one, and this is interesting because when price left here, we managed to move above this one. So these are all linked together. Okay, this is important to pay attention to. So we have this one here. Price is currently sitting on that area, trying to move through it. But until this is removed, we cannot buy. I don't want to sell because of this price reacting here, and also if you look at this candle here, this is very bullish. You can see how price poked into this small accumulation candle here, and then we're moving higher. So this is a really, I mean, this is a lot of buying going on just around here. Okay, so you want to be a little bit careful there. Okay, and so noticing that in a situation like this, there's nothing to do but wait. Okay, we have this little candle here, which people think, oh, accumulation, let's buy. It's not a good idea. Why? Because this is an obstacle in the road that we'll have to move through if we want price to move higher. And it's the bump is still in the road, so you can't buy. If you were to buy here, just here, I mean, your risk reward would be poor because the size of this area, which will be our risk, which is 43 pips. I mean, we don't even have a 2-to-1 to the opposing side of the market. And so buying here would be lower probability. And also notice the price visited the opposing supply before this area of demand. When this happens, that we've started to advertise high prices, which is bad for our case as buyers once price comes here. If price would have left and then come back immediately to this area here, then it would have been okay to buy shorter term, because we had not yet reached the opposing side of the market. Okay, so there's nothing to do there. In a situation like this, I mean, there's nothing to do. There's absolutely nothing to do. Okay, let's have another look at something else. Okay, let's have a look at this one here. So looking at this, we have lower highs and lower lows. So we have price slowly drifting lower. And notice that we have just taken out this low. So there's something up here that is strong enough to move price below this low. Okay, and we had the same thing here where we had we had this low here, price went up, we came down, we formed this accumulation candle, which is responsible for moving below this low. So if we zoom in a little, if we mark it off there, see, this is an interesting candle here, because this is the one that's responsible for price closing lower here. And on the weekly chart, you'll find the candle that's responsible for doing that, which you can't see, and you can see it here very clearly. So you have 3 periods of accumulation, the low of the body, the high of the area, which is kind of like that. So that's what we have there. Okay, and when price left, the slingshot was pulled back to the edge, to the 111.74 area, and this is actually the one, this candle here, from this point here, it managed to close below all of these lows here. So this is a really important price point here. If we go here, we kind of line it up with this one, and this one, and this one here. So this is a really nice area to watch for price to react at in the future. But looking down here, I mean, there's nothing. This is really messy. Looking at this doesn't really give me a whole lot of confidence to do anything. Okay, but price is slowly drifting lower from here, and so I'd be keen to take potential shorts at this area here. But because we have lower highs and low lows on the monthly, I wouldn't be very keen about buying anything. If we look at this, we have this. And so you go to current price and you look for an area of demand that was able to close above highs, significant highs. We had some highs here. The origin of this move, which is responsible for moving above these, originates from down here. And we're getting pretty close to it now. If we go to the weekly and have a look, we can see what it looks like. And here you can see it a lot clearer. Price came down, we popped up, the slingshot was pulled back to this area here. So right here, then we left. Okay, and so you can see it pretty clearly, I think. Price popped up, the slingshot, and then we started to gap up. So this is also a very price sensitive area. Can expect price to have a bit of a bounce. Now, this little fella here kind of ruins everything. You can notice here again that this candle closed above this high. This candle did not close above this one, and the close of this candle is lower than this one. So these two candles here make up the accumulation at this area, and the beginning of the buy zone is the 106.56 area. So I think we can expect price to have a bit of a bounce there. Okay, so there's a lot of space between this area of supply and this area of demand. Okay, so for the time being, you could look to sell until we start to move down into this, and we're getting pretty close to it now, so you might want to be a little bit careful. So if we have a look for short entries here, notice that we had this low, so we had lower highs and lower lows. The area of supply responsible for moving below this, and actually all of these lows, is this one here. And so you have this candle here was responsible for closing below this one, and so there's probably something here. I would probably mark off this whole area here because it looks like that, and I'd want to go to the daily chart for clarity. This one closed below here, so there's something in here that's telling us to have a closer look. You can see it right there. A lot of accumulating, distributing going on here. And if you look at this, there's a lot of trading in the area here, isn't there? A lot of wicks moving up, and these wicks going up are thinning out the market to the upside. So the more price pokes up, the less liquidity there is up there. And if price is able to hang around in these areas for that long, then there's probably no reason to sell at that area. And so I wouldn't look to sell anywhere around there, but I would look to I would want to look higher. And if you look at this, I mean, price has traded in this area here, price has traded in this area here, and price poked up. So there's actually nothing to do until much higher. And I see this, and I get a little bit more happy. So we have the accumulation, the candle that closed below the lows, the high of this candle, which is the beginning of the sell zone, is here. So I'd mark this area off like that. So this is where I would be comfortable to begin to sell. And we're really far away from price. Okay, so what we can do is we can have a look down in this monthly demand to see if there's anything in there on the daily chart. So we'll scroll left, and having a look at this, what you can see that we have, was a lot of trading sitting on this area. You can see this price level has been protected. You can see it's pretty accurate, these lows. It's very accurate here. Okay, this candle cut away. The deepest, the deepest pullback is here. Let me see why this candle is put there. So this candle could be marked off like that, and this one here goes back to here. So this is a tiny little area which I think you could box off this like that. But what I do like is how price popped up north, and then we pulled back. So this is retracement price action here. Price is coming down. We're starting to fill orders. You see price comes down. We attract some buyers. A little bit deeper, attract more buyers. A little bit deeper, more and more and more. And then all of a sudden we pop up. So this is where that window of opportunity begins. So I would be quite comfortable beginning to buy from around the low of this candle here, which you could see pretty clearly on the weekly chart. So if we scroll back, you can see it here. If we zoom in here from the low of this candle here. Okay, so but for the time being, I'd be looking to buy from down here, and I would not be looking to sell until much higher, this area of monthly supply. There's just nothing in here. Price has messed around in this area for a long time. We have the big pullbacks, so the beginning of the sell zones for this area starts here, and there's nothing in here. This is very messy, so there's not a lot to do there. Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to do one more pair. Let's try something weird like let's try silver American dollar monthly. What's going on? Wow, we have strong pushes here. This is interesting. This is very interesting. Price pop north. So where do we have, first of all, some supply? We had this area of demand, which caused price to move above here. This area, this price pattern pushed through it. So here we have the beginning of the sell zone, which was tested. And I say this because these candles are linked together. This candle is the one that closed below. The higher this candle is here. So this is where you want to sell. So price came up there, it went lower, and now we're kind of moving sideways. But we do have like higher lows and higher highs, which is great. So looking here, you can see that we have, what do we have? We have this area of supply, which was removed. Here, the origin of this move is down here. So this is the one. And looking at this one, this was in the range of this. These are not. This kind of closed above that. So the entry would be here, which brings my attention to this here. Okay, so we have this one. This, when price left here, the beginning of the buy zone started around here, because this is the deepest retracement since the establishment of this area here. Just here, price poked into that area, then it left. Okay, so you wouldn't want to buy for a price any more expensive than the low of this pullback, but due to the fact that market structure has failed from this area here, this would be an interesting area to have a look at for an entry when price comes down here. And when price managed to leave here, we moved above this one and we moved above this one. But notice that we are located at monthly supply, which makes this a little bit dangerous, because we don't know what's going to happen. This could be price just looking for liquidity to drive price lower, and we'll have a deeper retracement in order to push price higher. But we do have market structure failure. We do have the consumption of opposing supply, and so these are two reasons to qualify this area of demand as demand. And this is happening at an area that is reacting at this continuation pattern. So this is the parent and this is the child. Okay, this is the child because it is formed as a result of the presence of this area of demand. Okay, so price rallied. We had kind of like a retracement price pattern here, and then we loaded the gun and then we popped north again. Now I think we're looking to try and maybe challenge this area here. which is very interesting. So I think we could consider looking at entries to buy from around this area here, and ultimately this continuation pattern here below the lows of this buy zone just here. Okay, good. Well, I'm going to leave it at that to keep this under half an hour. If you have any questions, please send them in, and yeah, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.